Hello, this is your favorite Turkish teacher, Zeynep. It's a cocky statement. It's a joke. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. You tell me. So I wanted to talk to you about learning Turkish with your partner because I have been a teacher for a very long time, so I am experienced, and I have also had a boyfriend with whom I did this. So I would like to tell you about my experience as a teacher and my experience as a person that is not a teacher and my combined experience, and give you my thoughts and opinions. I know that most of you have partners who are speakers of the Turkish language, and this is why you are learning Turkish. And I know that some of you practice Turkish with your partners, but this isn't the majority of you. And some of you check homework and do like little bits of things here and there with your partner, little bits of studying maybe, or practice with your partner. And I know that most of you probably don't practice Turkish with your partners. And this is okay and valid and very understandable, because even as a Turkish teacher, it really wasn't easy for me to do this with my ex-boyfriend at the time. Even though we were both language learners, and even though we were, like, he wasn't a teacher at the time, but I was a teacher. I still am a teacher, but he knows how to teach. He knew how to teach. I know how to teach. Despite this, it really wasn't easy, because this kind of learning experience requires you to transform into different roles in the relationship, at least for the time being, while you are doing the practice or, the learning session. And it requires one person to keep the other person accountable. It can be frustrating for both partners to feel, a little bit awkward in the situation, because why should I have to keep my partner accountable? And why should my partner feel like they are obligated to do something? I mean, of course, motivation should be present for this to happen to begin with. The partner who wants to learn Turkish should be motivated. You should be motivated. But then, even then, being in the student role with your partner can feel awkward and off. Kind of like this feeling of responsibility arises from this situation. The time that this did not happen, however, with my boyfriend, was when we had language exchange sessions in Japanese. We both spoke Japanese, and we set aside time to practice Japanese. We did like an hour or two of Japanese only. And it was all fun and games. It was a lot of fun. But I think the reason for that was because Japanese wasn't a language that we spoke natively. And so the experience was a shared common experience. Both parties were experiencing the same thing. Both parties were going through the same struggles. Maybe me more so than him, but nobody was in a kind of teaching role in those sessions. So that worked. I think if you can make it work like this with your partner, with Turkish, then excellent. I think it's a lot of fun to try to do something that you don't feel like super confident at, because you can laugh a lot while doing this. But at the same time, it can be frustrating, because you might, especially if your partner speaks Turkish natively, then you might feel like you might mess up, and then you might feel bad about messing up, and then your partner may not know how to handle that, because knowing a language is very different from teaching a language. Knowing to teach something, especially a language, is an entirely different thing. Knowing how to teach requires you to understand what frustrations may arise in the learner, and it requires you to be prepared for those things and prepare the learner for those things. It requires you to foresee some struggles, and it requires you to kind of set the learner up for success. And when this doesn't happen, because language learning is inherently frustrating, it can be frustrating in the relationship, and it can reflect onto the relationship. This wasn't my experience, but I can see that this can really happen. So that is one thing. We sometimes did actual lessons. Actually, maybe we did, I don't know, 2 or 3 lessons in total. And I didn't know whether I should transform, like fully transform into that teacher role, or to keep it like light and fun. If I did transform fully into that teacher mode, then like it felt a little bit awkward, because then, like I mentioned before, it brings on this kind of responsibility of holding the other person accountable. And that, I don't think, is something that should be present in a relationship at that level. But then at the same time, I felt as if I didn't transform fully into that teacher role, that he would not fully benefit from my abilities. So it was kind of I didn't know where I stood in that. Some of you may know that I included my boyfriend of the time in my videos on my personal channel, and we did some like Turkish learner type videos, and those were fun. But I think that is an exceptional case, and not everybody is going to be able to include their partners in fun things like that. So that is another thing. I would also like to talk to you about the experience that my best friend had and still has and had. She speaks Turkish perfectly, and she learned it from her boyfriend, and she learned it just by speaking with him. But this is another special case, because her boyfriend didn't speak much English. So she had to learn. She was already motivated to learn, and she had been a teacher before, so she knew, and she had learned many languages before. So I think that's also a special case. This is language acquisition, and actually it should work, right? One would think language acquisition is this thing that we are all after, that we're all seeking. It's the perfect method, the perfect formula to learn a language. But is it? I need to pause the video because I need to empty the SD card. Okay, I'm back. Right, so language acquisition is this magical thing that everyone should utilize to learn languages. It is true, however, it is very true for children. Children acquire languages, they don't learn it in the way that we do. So my friend's case is special because my friend had no other choice, literally. They had no other common language. They both lived in Turkey, and this was their only means of communication. So it happened. But most of you do already have a common language, and it's not going to be easy for you to switch to a language that you're not familiar with, that you're in the process of learning, and knowing that you can always switch back to the common language. So that is a point that is important in language acquisition. Learning happens at a much faster rate in certain states. Necessity is one of them, because you feel things, you feel frustration, you feel an urge to do it, and then like everything sticks because everything is extremely important. If you don't say it like that, if you don't get it like that, then there's no other way. This is vastly different than like you speaking in a language the entire time and then saying, all right, that's it, let's switch to Turkish. So yeah, but if you can do it, definitely do it. But I think also because, that was a bit of rambling, but I think also because Turkish is probably unlike most of the languages that you speak, you still do need a bit of a structural approach. What was I just saying? I had something on my mind. Oh yeah, right. So speaking is a big part of it, because why do we learn language? We want to speak it mostly. So speaking should always be included, certainly, but I think some sort of structure is beneficial in learning Turkish. Let me see if I have anything else that I want to say. Aha, right. Right. Okay, so there is this other thing that comes to my mind when I look back, and I felt a little bit too responsible in making my boyfriend feel comfortable in social settings, in like family settings, in like daily interactions at the shops, in the taxi, whatever. And I felt, like I said, extra responsible because of Turkish mostly. So I don't know if this will be true for everyone, and it certainly isn't a very healthy level of responsibility to feel. But I think if you go into this venture of teaching your partner or learning Turkish from your partner, this can add that added stress to the relationship. And there is one more thing that I would like to add. I think in relationships, you can have common hobbies and you can pursue shared goals, and this is good, but not everything should be absolutely entangled. I think even though this is the language that your partner speaks, I think it makes sense to keep it a little bit separate, because then what you get to do is to do the thing that I told you that we did with Japanese, the fun thing. If you learn Turkish on your own, then you get to do the fun part with your partner, which is to practice Turkish with. So in order to do that, I think one should keep majority of their studies separate from their partner, and then they can, do this kind of language exchange type thing. So if you feel like you should go this route, we've got a 12-week confident speaking program called the VIP speaking program, which will help you to learn Turkish, and you can check it out at the link in the description down below. And I hope to see you again in another video. Also, what do you think about this format? I think as a teacher, I've got a couple of things that I think about on a daily basis, because I love teaching. Like, these things come to my mind and I ponder upon these things. And I think it can be interesting for you to hear my opinion and hear about my experience teaching, like kind of like insider things. For example, this can be about, how to, like what to look for in a teacher and how to find a teacher, knowing what to ask for. I don't know, like how to plan your studies. I don't know. You tell me. If you like this type of content, leave a like so I know that I should make more of this content. And in the comments, you can tell me what you might want to hear from a teacher, and then I can make the next video about one of those things. So thank you very much. I hope this was helpful. Ve görüşürüz.